Hey, Matt, after about, I don't know, 9 days of scheduling, canceling, here we are again. And in the midst of those 9 days, we actually had someone reach out and offer about coming on.
Yeah.
And as awesome as that is, it's so hard to pinpoint time.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I don't know about you, but I've had several holiday parties in between these last
Yeah.
8
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. We had our SantaCon this weekend. So
Oh, good. Good. How'd it
yeah,
go?
good. It's the four stop pub crawl where people donated items or money to the food bank, and it was so much fun giving that donation to the food bank today.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And those things are super helpful. I know they're more common, let's call it during the holidays and such, but boy, those kind of organizations I've had the pleasure of working with as well over the years, and they need help all the time, right? And they're really they're most of them are really really wonderful.
yeah, and it made me think today. I had my class brainstorm ideas where we can help a charity in either this January or February because we all act like we don't have time, but you feel good when you do it.
I was having this very conversation, Paul, with several people recently, some end of the year kind of meetings I'm having, and I always end up in the same place with many of them about everything's selfish. Everything we do is selfish, right? But that doesn't
Right,
mean it's bad. But that doesn't mean bad. Selfish doesn't mean bad. Like, why do you give the charity? Why do you participate in that? Because it makes me feel good, right? That's why I
right.
do it. I mean, we don't think about it like that, but that's the
Yeah.
truth.
Well, I was telling the kids they're talking about this or that, and I brought up, well, is it okay to just donate money? And the whole point of the convo was you don't have to suffer to help other people. It could be in your best interest. It could be just organizing something. It could be writing a check.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
if it's so standing out in the cold and ringing a bell and all
yeah.
that stuff's great, and you're suffering in the process, but it that's not technically a win-win either.
Right, right. Yeah.
And but it's all good.
Yeah, no, it is, but I think it's important to recognize like it's okay to do things that are self-serving as long as they're not hurting other people, right? It's
Right.
self-serving can be very serving to it's very much serving other people as well. It generally is. That's
Yeah.
that's great. That's
No,
great.
100%. So, it's exciting. But that being said, it's another year. It's the end of season 4, 150 episodes in, and we're just talking. We have no plans to end it. If
No.
anything, we'd like to amp things up. But I was telling my students today, we haven't podcasted in a while because we're too busy doing the things we podcast about.
Wow, yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
And that's
yeah, Paul,
okay.
good point. Our excuses are other than I did have a couple holiday parties, but other than that, normally it's like, well, why we battling to connect? Because we're doing the very things that we're talking about. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And I go, that would be like a business teacher not owning a business. And they're like, well, that happens all the time. I said, well, I think we had a good talk about social media and influencers and all that. A lot of those people that are influencing you are making money and influencing because you're following, not because they are doing. And
Yeah.
hey, if it makes the followers better, I guess that's okay too. But
Yep.
I know it makes me feel better personally that I'm practicing what I preach.
Well, you've been talking about that for years, Paul. Like said for years, where you had I don't know if it was something on your shoulder, just kind of chirping in your ear, and your conscious, subconscious, or somewhere in there that seemed to make you feel like you had to do some other things in order to feel when you were having these discussions and conversations with your students that you felt a little more credible. I don't know if that's the right word or maybe probably, but I so then you did it. Then you took
Yeah.
action, and not just once, but on several things.
Yeah, no, and I did. I took that when I took my left my traditional teaching job to still be in public school, but to take the job at the Honors Academy I'm at. I'm teaching innovation, leadership, and business. And at first I'm like, all right, well, I do innovate, whether it's coaching practices or writing a book or things like that. But I do lead. but I felt like I didn't have the business/entrepreneurship part. And I feel like, all right, 2 out of 3 is not bad. And the connections and networking, I felt filled the void. But
Yeah.
it makes me more complete knowing I have the innovation, leadership, and business. And don't get me wrong, by innovation, I don't mean like inventing a fuel cell or something like
Right.
that. I just mean, just thinking outside the box in a way, or non-traditional things.
Yeah. And would you agree if I said that then when you started the class and what you started doing with the class introduced you to people, built relationships, and many of those relationships have then turned into businesses or a piece of a business or something. But is that a fair statement to say that relationships have driven a lot of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on one sec. I gotta take this. I'll cut this out.
All right.
Uh, All right, I'm back.
No problem.
I can't remember what you just said. Sorry.
Um, I was talking about how the relationships that you've formed from what you're teaching and that you built that program and by built part of the way you built it, a big part was going out to businesses, organizations, driving relationships to get your kids to get experience in certain areas, and a lot of those relationships have turned into other things, um, which is not surprising to me because that's how it works, but
Yeah.
cool to see.
I gotta tell you a funny story. So we held class. I keep taking it to other limits. We went to a coffee shop in Hanover Square Friday, and that's where we held class. And one thing I told the kids, you don't have to go nuts, but if we go there, buy a tea, buy a coffee, we don't go and basically just sit there and take up tables and then wait to listen to the owner talk to us. So we did that. Some bought sandwiches and lunch, they all have jobs and whatnot. But then as the owner's talking about her journey, and they have a food truck down in Georgia where she went to college. They just branched out to Corning, another coffee shop. I see Brad Tabor walk by Hanover Square. So in the middle of her talking, I just run out of the classroom and I go see him. He was picking up lunch, and I said, "When you come back, you got to come in this place and give a speech." He's like, "I'm not a public speaker." I'm like, "Well, you're going to be today." And he comes back in holding his lunch to go, and he just knocked it out of the park. But talking about relationships, and I told the kids the first time I met him, he was a custodian, and no offense to custodians, the way he was talking, it sounded like that job was to fill a void. The job wasn't to, be the end all for him.
Right.
And
Yep.
he got talking, and then later on, the lady said, "Yeah, when you ran out of the coffee shop, I looked," and the kids go, "He does stuff like that all the time. He probably going to bring somebody back in the classroom." So I thought that, or the coffee shop. So, but you can't hear that enough. And
No.
if you do hear it enough, you got to believe it. And you got to realize every single person you come in contact with potentially could be a resource, a business partner, someone to lean on. But a lot of times they aren't.
Or Paul, someone you can help, right? Someone you can mentor. So
Yes, that's
yeah,
very important too.
right. I mean, it's a two-way street, and or someone who knows someone, right, who happens to have the solution to a problem that you're experiencing right now. And this just happened to us about a month ago, and now we found in our business a solution to a problem we wouldn't have known to go to research to find. And now we've got this great answer to this problem, and it was all just from someone we knew in Georgia. I mean, just having conversation, and away you go, and it's just incredible the power of that.
I say heck with the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I,
Oh,
I like I like the 2 to 3 degrees of business. It's
yeah.
quicker.
And
You
it's powerful, and it's really rewarding and really neat to see and experience. And it doesn't have to be business either, right? It can be whatever you're into, high school sports, or was going to name something that was a business, but art or, any number of things. I mean, it is, and it's easier than ever to connect with social media, which, call me a hypocrite since I'm not really on it. But that doesn't mean it's not true.
Right. Why? One of the podcasts in the past where you couldn't make, I talked to a sales guy. He wrote a book. His name's slipping me, but he says, yeah, people get frustrated when you only have a 10, 12% success rate when you call people. But I look at it as I have to call 9 people and hear no before I get a yes. So the
Yeah.
sooner I do that, the quicker I get a yes. And that blew my mind. So translating that when you meet people, sure, 9 out of every 10 may not form a bond or a
Yeah.
relationship, or you can't help them, they can't help you, but you're that much closer. And then it hyperdrives if they know somebody that knows somebody. And so if you don't go in with that open mindset, you're just missing out so many opportunities.
Yeah. And what in the business world in particular, there's so many. I've said this to you recently. I've never seen people more in any other industry than in business who want to help each other, want to collaborate, want to participate together. I was always baffled when I was younger coming up. Anytime I reached out to anyone, people that I didn't, I'm much younger, I've got zero success under my belt, and I'm reaching out to people that I really looked up to, really admired. And I only reached out because I was told from people I trusted, hey, you
Right.
reach out. I did not do it on my own. I was afraid to because I thought I'd be told, what can you offer me? Why would I waste my time with you? And I'd say 19 out of 20 people over my career I've ever reached out to for any kind of help. Not only were they helpful, they couldn't wait to help. And that's more what you see, significantly more than the other. But I mean, I get it. It's hard to expect that. But people want to help. Hey, back to what we originally started with. People feel good about that. They want to help each other. I don't know anybody who's gotten anywhere significant who wasn't helped immensely along the way. And there's a give back there that is, I think, important to most successful people. I know it is.
Absolutely. And that being said, what's the biggest thing you got out of doing this podcast this year?
For me, you know what? Well, I could think of several things. You know what? The biggest thing I get, Paul, is probably the ability to spit out what's on my mind. Okay. Just that in itself is so important. We live with these thoughts and these things that go through our heads. And, how often you get to kind of pontificate on it a little bit. And it helps me clear what I believe and maybe what I don't believe. It helps me work through things, I'd say. The relationships or the people we've met, it's insane. The number of people that we've been exposed to. How else could I have been exposed to them? That is fantastic. My relationship with you, which I value immensely, has done nothing but grow year after year, and the things that we do together now and connect on, and then how about, something that I think I'm very excited about us hopefully getting going next year, and someone else who's going to be a very big part of that for us. I never would have met without you. So, relationships, the opportunity to express myself, and that both have other webs of value within them. So those are the things that stand out to me.
Now it's super exciting. To me, I used to be, and don't take this the wrong way, embarrassed when I told people I had a podcast. And I don't mean maybe shy about it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
is the
I know what
better
you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
better word, because we Zoom and we put an intro and an outro on it. But we're picking up space or pace. It's almost to the point of being monetized in certain ways. We were just talking about future plans, no timeline, but just consistent effort for now. And now I use it with pride. I share it. We have clips all over, and it's just made me a better person. I mean, people would literally pay to pick your brain about things or pay to
Vice
talk to
versa.
some of the guests we have. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And
No doubt about it.
we get to just do it. And there's days where I feel like all I'm doing is solving problems or listening to people complain or putting out fires. And then I come here and there's none of that. I just
Yeah.
leave so emboldened that it, life sometimes has a funny way of, even though you're doing the right thing, making you feel like you're wrong.
Well
And
said.
I don't feel that way when we're talking to each other. And
Yeah.
that's what's cool to me. And
Yeah.
all the things you said, obviously.
Yeah. No, it's funny you say that about, I was shy about it too. And then this year, certainly more than ever, I've heard more and more feedback, positive feedback on it. Like people I had no idea would ever listen. Go, hey,
Yeah.
I heard the podcast with so and so or whatever. I'm going, oh, cool. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't believe you're listening to us, which it's flattering, right? But it,
Very
but
much so.
only Paul, because I want people to have take value from it, right? Just like anything else that's going to succeed. But then, I kind of go through and think about some of the people we've had and go, my gosh, we've had some amazing people. Like you said, people that get paid for their time, get paid for their expertise, get paid to talk and share with the things they talk and share with us and the people who join us and listen to us. And that gives you a lot that gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and we've at times chased names, nationally known figures, but I'm finding some of our best episodes are always local people we know.
Yeah, we've hit some really good ones. We have. And
Yeah,
we've also, and then at the same time, we've had some people on that are pretty national and pretty, and I go, holy cow, a lot of, I mean, gosh, we've turned down a lot of authors too, haven't
yeah,
we?
yeah.
More than we've had on. But that's pretty neat. But I think, really when it comes down to it, is it time well spent for us? The answer is certainly yes from my standpoint. And do we get things out of it personally for it? There's no question about it. And I don't even mean things I can measure, but there's also things that I can measure. And it's been a win all right. You know what, Paul, the only thing I regret about it sometimes is that I don't have more time to devote to it, right? More time to
Yeah.
to give to it in a way that would allow us to maybe put more to it into it that would provide more value and more viewership or listenership and maybe over time I think we both believe that's possible, but I at the same time I'm out there doing and living it, the what we talk about all day, every day, all the time, and fighting those fights. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean
No,
that's what it takes.
I think one of us will have to quit working so we can work harder, which is true. I look forward to it, and
Oh my gosh, me
nowhere in
too.
my future does it involve doing nothing for 6 months, maybe a
No.
week,
Yeah.
maybe
Oh
not,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
maybe 2 days,
Yep.
but you just get, Gary Vee's always like, you're like one in a trillion or something like that to
Love
even
that
be,
message.
or whatever the number
Yep.
is. And so many people just waste it.
Yeah, I love that message. He's been delivering that for years now,
Yeah.
and that was one of the reasons I became a fan of his because it's so true. It's just so true. And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday at one of those aforementioned Christmas parties, and we were just talking about how we were looking around the room of our friends and loved ones and going, look how fortunate we are. Look how lucky we are to be here with all the I hate this word, but all the privilege that we have in our lives. And and are what are you doing with that? You know what I mean? Like what are you doing with that? What trying to make tea times and fishing trips? And not that there's not a place for those
There's a time,
because
but
there is.
I think that stuff needs to be in moderation as well. Everybody talks about moderation.
Agreed.
And perspective, like this crappy winter day makes me appreciate that warm breeze at the beach even more, or just in my backyard in the summer.
Yeah.
But if I have it every day, I think it's easy to lose gratitude for it.
No question about it.
but
No
not us,
question.
Matt, not on our watch. Hey, thanks. I appreciate another year and it'll be year
Same here.
5. I know we got a couple in-person ones if we can find the time, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun.
All right.
It's always a situation where it's always fun, and I think, dang it, we should have done that more
I
sooner.
know.
But more to
Hey,
come. Be a
see you,
fun
Matt.
year. All right, see ya.